Hi everyone, and welcome back to Atlas Crossings. In today's video, we're going to be looking at referencing, in-text referencing. Now, some of you might have been given assessments to do where you're required to include referencing, you're expected to read external documents, journal papers, textbooks, and you're wondering, how do you incorporate references into your academic writing, into your coursework, or into the reports you have to write? We'll have a look at that in this video using some original statements and seeing how we can reference using different styles, paraphrasing, quoting, and essentially cases where they're just simply rewarded. Now let's look at an original text from a source, and this is simply a created text. There is an increasing academic interest in the academic writing proficiency of international students. Findings show international students often had difficulty using APA style. Now, this is an original text that we've read from a journal paper or a textbook, and we're thinking, well, that's an important statement to include within our work. But how do we include this in our work to avoid any issues with plagiarism or to even just meet the proper academic writing requirements of a good writer? Now, for everyone who engages in academic writing, you will be expected to provide references for any knowledge or ideas that are not yours, that you've picked up from a different source. And in this case, this statement sounds very relevant for the task we're delivering, and we want to know how we can incorporate it in the best possible way within our work. One way we can do that is by paraphrasing. Paraphrasing in case where we reword the original text that we've read from whatever source we've read that from. And here's an example. Academic findings have indicated that international students experience difficulties in applying the APA referencing style in their academic writing. What we've done in this case is simply just to reword it. It's not the best academic writing, I would say. It's not even close. Essentially, quite a lazy way of writing. You're just only trying to avoid, in some universities that use Turnitin, you're only simply trying to avoid Turnitin, but it's not a good academic writing practice where you only just reword. But in some cases that will fly. But depending on the quality of student you are or the quality of writer you expect to be, this is pretty much basic. Now, the other option you have is to quote the author, and I would say this should, happen only when it is absolutely necessary. There are cases where maybe is a globally known, a widely known sort of quotation or quote, which you don't want to change the form. I say, that's the only exception. But besides that, having to just simply read a journal paper, you pick up an idea and you just want to keep quoting, that's an unacceptable way of writing continuously in a full coursework. You cannot just keep quoting every statement within the coursework. I don't see that as being an unacceptable way of writing. I wouldn't encourage people to use that style. In fact, I almost never ever use quotations except where absolutely necessary and where it is a quotation as it is that makes the sentence or the conversations stronger. But if it's simply for the case that I'm lazy to find ways of rewriting or redoing it, then it's unacceptable. And we see in this case where the author simply just quotes in quotation mark, findings show international students often had difficulty using APA style. They have just taken a part of the entire sentence, the relevant part they wanted to take, put them in quotation marks, and just simply presented that within the work. You cannot continuously do this for the entire work. And finally, the other way you can write here is by doing a proper paraphrasing where you're applying the original idea that you've read. And in some cases, you don't even have to have all of the words or even most of the words that were used in the original statement. The idea is about, or the point here is about presenting the overall idea of what you've read and crediting the source where you've read that idea or where you've gotten that idea from. Now, you've received an idea from somewhere, you've read a journal paper, you've got an idea of how, business leadership works, and you thought that was a great idea. I didn't know about that before, or in the way it was said, it is actually unique and different. So you've taken that idea that you've read and then, presented it in whatever words or however else you want to present it within your own work. But what you've done is to credit the source and not taking away the original meaning of what you've read, but presented the original meaning of what you've read, but in a different way, in different words. And this is where, proper academic writing begins to set in. This is where you begin to set yourself apart from different basic writers, especially in an assessment. Now, what your tutor can see here is someone who is an active learner, someone who has taken different ideas, and being more critical. What you've done is you've read this idea, you've presented this idea, you've gone on to read a different idea or a similar idea from a different author, and you're able to, in a better way, blend that conversation to be more critical. And what happens with a good writer is we can see where you have presented different ideas, but we can also hear your voice within the perspectives you present. If you present 3-4 ideas, the way you write those 3-4 ideas, we can hear who is speaking. We can also hear you. We can hear your voice. And so referencing goes beyond just being able to put the author's original author's name in within the text or within the sentence before or after the sentence, but also in the way the words are presented, in the way the ideas are presented, and at the end of the day, of course, pointing out who the authors are. So this is the broad sense of how in-text referencing works, and this can help you and set a difference between you looking to be a quality academic writer and the basic student who just wants to do that coursework and get by and do all the things. So I would say pay attention to in-text referencing. You do not see people getting great grades by not including text references and not improving the quality of writing by the way they present the words and how they present the words when they write. Now, of course, within text reference, at the end of the day, you have to have a reference section where you list the different references, different sources, and within the list. And it is important to understand there is a difference between reference section and a bibliography. A reference section, and I'll try to explain, includes all of the text you've read and all of the text you put within the work that you've put in the in-text. All of that referencing goes into the reference section. However, if you've read some text which you have not also included within the work, but have provided you with some good understanding or basic understanding of different concepts that helped you to write the work, some of those texts or sources can go under a bibliography. So a bibliography can include all of the text you've used in text within the work, in addition to all of the texts that have helped you to get an understanding of the overall concepts within the work, but which you have not provided or used within the work. Now, I hope that has been very helpful to you. In-text referencing being quite a difficult thing for different types of students, but I hope you found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your colleagues. Get to continue to show up to see other important and relevant content that you might find helpful as well. Thank you.